Hello everybody, welcome back to Rework It. I'm here with my co-host, Jesús Ramirez. Hi Jesús. Really good, thank you. So, are we still in the same room? On the other side, yeah. Clearly not. It's like you're patting my head. Oh, I can see a team in the chat. That's fantastic team. Long time. Lovely to see you. Also, Valdoir, Sean, Ferry, beautiful. General Kenobi, amazing. Lovely to see some friendly faces and hopefully some new faces as well here at Rework It. Amazing. So Valdoir says no audio from Jesús. Okay, yeah, we're going to try to sort it out in just 1 second. Just 1 second, Jesús. Let me double check here from behind the scene. Can we test?
Can you hear me? Everybody can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me.
I think they can hear you now. We just need to...
But you can hear me, right?
I can hear you. We're just hoping to get the okay from everybody. I think that there was like an update. We look back. Let us know, everybody, in the chat if we can hear Jesús. Otherwise, we're going to try something else, but it should be working right now. Here, it looks like it's working. Let's see what team is saying.
Well, you can hear me, so that's good. But it looks like everybody else. We hear him. Yep.
Yeah,
all right.
fantastic.
Awesome. It looks like people can hear me now.
Beautiful. Right. So for those of you, hi, Emma. Hi, Sean. Let's go. Yes, team, let's go. Let's get started. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. And for those of you who don't know what Rework is about, I'm just going to give a little recap before we dive into today's session. And we're going to be starting in Photoshop. So I'm going to jump into my screen real quick. And here it is. This is the landing page for Rework It. Here is the place where you can submit your work in order to rework it here with us during Rework It here on Adobe Live. All you have to do is to click on the Submit Your Design button, and you will be presented with this little form. It's very easy. I like to run it through just because I have a lot of questions usually about the form. It just requires your email. Of course, the file that you want to submit, Illustrator. We have a lot of Photoshop files. By all means, keep sending Photoshop files, but I'm really would love to see more InDesign and Illustrator coming through as well. We need your name or your nickname, your Behance profile, and of course a data consent to make sure that the image and the file that you created is yours. And we're just curious to see which apps have you used while creating your file, and if you have any specific questions or issues that you want to discuss regarding your file. And once you're done with your form, all you have to do is submit, and me and Jesús are going to receive your work, and you're going to be emailed with a congratulation email once your work gets selected. So fantastic. This is the way to participate in Rework It. And what we're going to be doing here, as I say all the time, Adobe Live is a wonderful, fantastic space, safe space where we can sharpen your skills and learn new techniques with the amazing Adobe products like Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign in particular during these sessions. So having said that, Jesús, why don't we jump into your screen and you just give us an idea of what all this Rework It is about?
Yeah, today's Rework It. Here we go. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we should be on your screen right now already.
Awesome, cool. So this is the image that was sent in. It's a YouTube thumbnail, as you can see. And the artist's name, and let me put it right up here. The artist's name is Norbert, Bastitus. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. He doesn't have a Behance profile, but I wanted to use this file because it's something very different than what people have been submitting lately, and it's a YouTube cover. He has a YouTube channel. His YouTube channel is called Roadblockers LP, and he runs a gaming YouTube channel. And his email read, "I need some advice on how to design my YouTube thumbnail somehow more attractive because I really have an idea and I'm not happy with the outcome. Can you help me? Thank you very much in advance." And as you guys may know, I have a YouTube channel and I deal with this problem just with about every video. I don't want to get too technical about YouTube, but basically, the more attractive your thumbnail is, the more people click on it. That gives you better click-through rate and your videos do better. So all YouTubers want to have better looking thumbnails. The problem is that what is a good looking thumbnail? What makes people want to click on it? That's, a really, really difficult topic. And if somebody knew 100% the answer, then they'll probably be rich because everybody would want to know the information and people would pay a lot of money for that. But there are some things that seem to be things that often work. So why don't we talk a little bit about, instead of focusing so much on the marketing aspect of YouTube thumbnails, let's talk a little bit more about the technical stuff, since there's a couple of tips and tricks that I can give him and you guys on how to improve thumbnails in my workflow on making YouTube thumbnails. And by the way, I'm not a gamer. I used to be a gamer way back in the day. I'm not even going to tell you guys what games I used to play because then I'll date myself, but I'm not familiar with this game. So let us know if Immortals is a good game or not. I know nothing about it. So let us know in the chat if you guys are gamers, what games you play, and what this game is all about.
And also, sorry to interrupt you, Sus, but Sean says, I wish I had a better looking thumbnails. Sean, submit your thumbnails. We want to see it. Maybe we can rework it together and give you some inspiration here.
Yeah, that's right, Sean. Feel free to submit them. Pong, yeah. You know what? I did play Pong, so don't make too much fun of that. I used to play Pong. I don't even know what an Atari is with the stick and the one button. But anyway, so this is the image. And one of the things I like to tell people whenever they're working on their thumbnails, for example, right now I'm working like on this big 4K monitor that's just under the camera. And it's like, this big. And then when I'm working on a thumbnail, if I, leave it at full screen or to fit the screen, the thumbnail is like literally this big, right? So when you're designing a YouTube thumbnail, I wouldn't work on it like this, because if you think about it, when people look at your YouTube thumbnail, it'll either be on their phone or their desktop, and it'll probably look more like that.
I'm so sorry. I mean?
So
some national news hit an alarm, so hopefully everything is okay.
Okay.
Some updates. I'm so sorry.
No worries. So whenever you design something, I recommend to always bring it down to the scale so that you can see more or less how people will look at the thumbnail on screen, right? So just by bringing down the image, Norbert's image, you can see that it might be a little difficult to read all the text is there. So I'm not a big fan of having a lot of text on thumbnails, maybe the keywords. Again, I'm not a gamer. I'm not sure what this game is all about, but an assumption that the whole point of this video was about Achilles' vault, which I'm assuming is part of, maybe like a level in the game or something, assuming that that's the key word, then I would just have on there Achilles' vault, because your audience would already know, oh yeah, it's about, you don't need to, they know it's Immortals and they know it's a puzzle guide. So why, you don't even need to put that, just put the main point of what that is. If you're making Photoshop videos like I am, I may use the words masking or, cut out or something like that lets people know right away what the video is about. And I don't need to type in the thumbnail, Photoshop 2021, how to select the mask. That's way too much. And I think it makes it busy. So the first thing that I would do is, in this case, I would just keep the text that reads Vault Achilles, and that's about it. I wouldn't use anything else. So let me just match it here more or less, Achilles Vault. And now that we just have that text, we might be able to even make it larger. So maybe, let me see how he arranged all this stuff. So I'm just gonna put this stuff in a new group, just so that I only transform the new stuff. And I'm just going to convert, you don't have to do this. I'm going to convert it into a smart object because I don't have his font in my computer. So I don't want to get that warning letting me know that, I don't have the font. So maybe you can make it larger. You can make it, I wouldn't make it smaller. but you have more flexibility on where to place the text. Also, something that I just thought about as we're working on this, and I'm gonna undo this. And I know it's kind of weird looking at a thumbnail so small as you're working, but that's the way I like to work with YouTube thumbnails, because that's how most people are gonna see them, whether it's on their phone or on the computer, laptop, tablet. But again, the point is that I don't like to work on them so closed in, because it gives me a false sense of what the thumbnail would look like to the audience. So I know it's weird on the stream looking at such a little tiny thumbnail, but that's just my personal preference. But anyway, let me undo this. And something else that you could do maybe is put it, you know what, I like it in a box like it is now, but just to let you know, you could also put it side by side, and we'll just see how it looks. Maybe I'll like it better, I don't know. So I can just bring it here, Achilles vault, right. I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys like the box better, or just here at the bottom? And we have to work with the rest of the image, of course, but the point is even at a small, size, you can right away tell Achilles vault, right? So that's the whole point I was trying to make. I'll keep the original design idea of having it in a box, and maybe I can adjust the box a little bit so that it's more centered to this text now. And I can adjust the yellow on there. Anyway, obviously, you guys can spend more time fine-tuning the details. So that was the first thing. I like to use just like a big call out for the main thing on the YouTube thumbnail, or what the video is about. Also, in your Photoshop files, I noticed that you have a lot of layers here that are not doing anything. So like, I wouldn't have so many layers that don't do anything. So if there's layers that are just there for no reason, just delete them. Like, if you're not using them, why make the file larger? Why make your computer slower? Why confuse yourself when you're looking at the layers panel? Just get rid of them. Also, I noticed that here you were trying to fill in the spaces by just copying and pasting. I wouldn't do that. I would just, this is such a simple background, it's just a cloud with sky. So I would just make a selection, go into edit, content aware fill, and Photoshop will automatically generate that. And it does a really good job. See here on the left how it generated these pixels pretty easily. You can just press OK, and here we go. We have a new layer that has everything. You can keep the bottom one if you like, or you can delete it. Just to be a little cleaner, I'm just going to delete it. But we have this layer now, and it's so much easier than copying and pasting. And in my opinion, it gives you a better result in the blend. And that's what it looks like right there. Also, now that I'm looking at the image, I'm thinking that it might not be such a good idea to focus. I would zoom in the image is what I'm trying to say. Like, people are attracted to like faces and eyes. So when possible, I would use a closer shot of a character. That's why a lot of YouTubers, make those like weird faces and like, oh my God, I'm shocked, or, like a smile or a frown or something to catch the viewer's attention, because as humans, we like to look at other people's faces, and faces just immediately attract our attention. So maybe in this case, I would, get closer to her face, something like that, maybe. And then, I don't know, maybe bring this up a little bit, like so, something here. And you know what, now that I made her face larger, I think that in this case, maybe I would actually maybe do it across the bottom, but we'll work with what we have. Also, in some cases, it might be a good idea to scale this up like so, more or less like this, and create a layer mask, unlink the layer mask to the group, and then just paint with black around the edges here. So it kind of looks like her face and her body is covering, the background there. And you might be wondering, why did you unlink the layer or the layer mask to the group? Well, I did that so that I have the flexibility after I make my mask to select the group and just move the contents. See that? So then I have more flexibility as to what is being covered by her face, something like that. And obviously I'm going quickly. I would do a better job in the mask.
Asus, I have a question, because before you were mentioning the fonts missing, there is a way in which you can package a project, especially if you're working, for example, in in InDesign, and the package will retain the fonts and it creates a sort of folder, then the file reference. There is anything similar in
Yeah,
Photoshop?
not really, unfortunately. Not It's not like as you said, it's in InDesign where you can just package it up. It's just the PSD file. Your best bet might be to I mean, if you use Adobe fonts, then they'll automatically sync in Photoshop 2021. If you maybe placed it in your font in a library, and then no, actually, I mean, yeah, there's no way of packaging it, unfortunately.
Okay, sorry. I was just curious because I was like, maybe I'm missing something. That would be a really cool suggestions because I don't know if about you guys, but if you ever use InDesign, that's a really nice way to make sure that you keep all your assets together and also stores images as well.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely should do that. Now, the reason I'm painting this in blue, and actually I meant to do it in a new layer, is because I didn't like the white underneath the box with our text. So I'm just painting it the color of the sky, and I actually think it'll help us frame our character better. And when you have the brush tool selected, you can hold Alt and Windows Option in the Mac and click to temporarily enable the eyedropper tool. And when you release, it comes back into the brush tool. But anyway, so I'll enable this. And you were using a hue and saturation adjustment layer to saturate the image. That's okay. But instead, I prefer to use a vibrance adjustment layer. So let me remove that and create a vibrance adjustment layer. The reason I like using a vibrance adjustment layer better is that vibrance also helps to add saturation, but it protects already saturated pixels and skin tones. So I can increase it. See how much more saturation I'm adding, and I'm not really destroying her skin tones. So that's one of the reasons why I would do this. And obviously, like I said before, you know, this is sort of messy. So I would come in here and paint with white to reveal the text and make it cleaner, of course. But this is the reason why I had a layer mask on the group. And I know it's not perfect, but you know, you guys can spend some time fine-tuning these smaller details in your projects. But I think that's looking pretty good. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. Let me see if there's any questions. Have you seen any questions in the chat, Kladi?
No, I think everyone was talking more about games, and I definitely want to say thank you so much, team, for putting back the link again to submit your work. We're receiving a lot of submissions, which is fantastic. We look forward to see your work. Let me see if there is any other question.
And that's one thing. Yeah, talking about submitting. Thank you for posting the link, Tim. And I want everybody right now to click on that link and submit an Illustrator file, or even better, an InDesign file. So do that now. But yeah. So this is the thumbnail, and actually, so you guys can compare. I can go into Window. And I don't want to go into Window. What am I doing? Oh yeah, I do. I want to go into History. That's where I want to go into History. And this is your History panel here. You can see all the steps that you've made. And I'm going to create a snapshot by clicking on this little camera icon. And then at the very top, I can go to how the thumbnail looked in the beginning and how it looks now. And actually, I just remembered Norbert had a torn edges texture around the frame. I'm not a big fan of those, but if it works for you and you like it, then no problem adding it. But he had texture around it. I just prefer it without a texture, but again, that's very subjective, and you may like it, and that's fine. But this is what he had in the beginning, and if I zoom out, and more or less that's, you know, about this big, which is as big as you're going to see a thumbnail in your desktop. And if you have your phone, you could imagine it'll be, you know, like even that big. So that was the original, and this is what it looks like now. So I just think it's easier to see, and I think it catches your eye better because there's a face and there's just like a keyword or like a thing that stands out. Achilles Vault. Again, I'm assuming that that's what the video is about. I don't play the game. I don't know anything about it. So excuse me if that's the wrong thing to use for this particular game, but I think that you get the idea to use the thing that stands out the most if you're going to use a word. A lot of times you may not need to use words in your thumbnail images. A lot of times you might simply, you know, just have I'm going to keep the text here, but let's just assume the text wasn't here. A lot of times you can have like a like a red arrow or something pointing at something, and that will give people an idea of what your video is about, right? So maybe you're just pointing at her, and there you go, something like that, So people use red arrows. A lot of people also use red circles. I've done that, where there's something important in the thumbnail that you want to attract attention to. So you can just create a red stroke, no fill, and adjust the circles stroke width appropriately. So totally up to you how you call out the main thing about your thumbnail. At the end of the day, as I said before, it's all about click-through rate, trying to get more people to click on your thumbnail based on what they see. I know this is not a marketing video or anything like that, but since we're talking about YouTube and making a good thumbnail is important, that's only half of what you need to worry about. The other half is how catchy your title is and how accurate it is to the content inside the video. So don't use a title that is misleading or a thumbnail that is misleading, because when people click over your video, you're going to get more clicks, right? And you will if you have a catchy thumbnail and a catchy title. But if the video does not reflect the promise of the thumbnail or the title, then you're going to get a lot of people leaving the video because it's completely unrelated or it's misleading. So that's actually going to hurt you. So make sure that whatever you design is in relation, it relates to the content, so that it's not misleading and people are happy once they click over.
So, Susan, I'm actually reading the chat. It's a little bit far away today, so like if you see me trying to read it really hard. There were a couple of topics that I think that are interesting here. In particular, the dark mode. So how to make sure that you can have your post standing out in dark mode, and also the translation of a banner into a social media post. So I don't know if you can. I know that you do. You've helped me sometimes real quick to use the crop canvas and crop image to translate, or maybe use artboards. I don't know if you can dip into that.
Yeah, so you can use the artboard tool for that. So you can create another artboard here. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I mean, there's so many things you can do, right? You can create an artboard out of your current canvas. There it is, artboard 1. If you hold Alt and Windows Option on the Mac, you can create another artboard. And then maybe this artboard has a width of, what is it, 10? Is it 1080? I think it is.
1080 by
1080 for like for a square Instagram post, right? So what you can do is Photoshop basically duplicated all the contents of that artboard, and I can just call this one Instagram post, and this one. And actually, I have one of these for my YouTube videos. I have basically something set up like this, and maybe I can pull one up so you guys could see it if I can find one really quickly. I'll show it to you after I don't want to like jump around too much. So let me show you this, and then I can show you one of mine. But the point is that you can duplicate an artboard by holding Alt and Windows Option on the Mac and clicking on that square, and it'll just duplicate the contents inside of that artboard into a different artboard, and then you can resize that artboard like I just did there by going into the properties panel and setting a width and height, and then you can move around your artwork so that it matches the new image, right? So I can move this around and place this here, and maybe maybe the text is not going to work next to her because we have a different aspect ratio, right? So what we can do instead is maybe delete this layer mask and just move this down here, right? So maybe something like this, or smaller, or whatever it is, right? So you guys obviously can play around and figure out what works, but all you really have to do is just move layers around so they match the new format. In this case, maybe make it a little bit smaller, just so it's again a different format. So maybe something like this. I don't know, whatever looks good to your eye, right? So now you really didn't do much work besides rearrange the layers a little bit so that they match the different formats. So now I said I was going to show you one of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I have one of mine ready to roll. Let me see. I think I have one for this video. No, I don't. As you can see, I've been busy lately, so I haven't made it for too many of them, but give me 1 second.
No worries. I'm still here if there is any other questions. So,
Oh, I think.
you let me know
No,
if
go
you
ahead.
found it. I was just trying to read the question in the meantime, but if you found it, that's totally fine.
Yeah, and by the way that I keep all my files is in Dropbox, and I unsync them from my computer so they don't waste space. So not only do I have to find it, I have to sync it, but it shouldn't take me too long because the files are relatively small. So let me open this up in Photoshop, and I think this one works. Yeah, so this is basically what I did. See, I have a thumbnail that goes
Super
for my
cool.
website, one for my YouTube channel. I'm not doing LinkedIn posts anymore, but I still have one for LinkedIn just in case I need it. I have an Instagram story one, a Pinterest image, and an Instagram post in case I need it. So for all my tutorials, I try to do these. So it always starts with the YouTube thumbnail, and then it moves to everything else like you just saw there. Another tip I want to give you guys is maybe once you let's say that this is the first time that you're watching this and you want to do this for your own YouTube channel, your own social media strategy. What I would recommend you to do at this point is to go into File, Save As, and save it as a PSD T, add a little T at the end there. And I'm going to save it here on the desktop. And the reason that you want to do that is because, and let me find it here on the desktop and bring it over to you guys. Let me bring Photoshop down and this down, and here is the file right here, a PSDT. And the reason that you want to do this is because when you open it up in Photoshop, let me close the previous one. It won't work if the previous one is there. When you open up a PSDT in Photoshop, it opens it up as an untitled. See that untitled document? That means that this is a separate instance than the original. In other words, I can never adjust the file and overwrite the original, because let's assume that, I don't need an Instagram post, Pinterest, or LinkedIn, right? So I just delete them because I don't need them. And then when I close and save, Photoshop will say save changes to Adobe Photoshop document untitled. When you click on yes, Photoshop is going to make you save a new version of that file. So the original file will never be overwritten. The T stands for template. So this is a Photoshop template file. You can do the same thing with InDesign, Illustrator, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, all the applications that have template files for download on Adobe stock should have the same capability. So Photoshop for sure has it, as you can see. And all you need to do is add that little T at the end so that you never overwrite your template files. And if you ever want to edit your template file, all you need to do is open up the file, remove the T. And once you remove the T, for some reason it's not letting me. I know that there's like a window that popped up somewhere telling me if I'm sure. Yes, I'm
some
sure.
of your screens.
Yeah. Notice that the PSD is now in the little thumbnail here, in the little icon. So when I open that up, again, so notice it reads social media blur background. It doesn't read untitled anymore because it's now editing the actual file. This is not a separate instance. So if I were to, do the same thing, delete all this other stuff because I don't want it or need it, and then I press Control S to save, Command S on the Mac to save, notice now that it did save a file. Photoshop didn't ask me to save an alternate file. And if I close it, and I think, oh my God, I closed that file. I didn't want to do that because that was my original template. Unfortunately, when you open I don't even know where it went. I don't know why it disappeared. Oh, it went to my other screen for some reason. But when you open, yeah, I'll show you guys. It went to this screen for some reason, but there it is. So when you open the file, notice now that the other ones are gone. The other artboards are gone, and there's nothing that you can do about it. So you, unfortunately, would have lost all that work. So remember, add a T at the end of your Photoshop document when you're saving. If you already have a Photoshop document and you want to make that into a template, all you need to do is just put a T at the end of the file name, and that should work.
That's fantastic. So I wanted to say hello to Andreas Alder and Stefan Booth that have been joining us. Also Biola Emepe, thank you so much for joining us and for joining the conversations here on Adobe Live. I think everyone has been enjoying your tips, Jesús. And Sean is like, wow, I don't know that. I'm just, because there is a lot of internal conversation. So the conversation that we have and the reply to what you're saying, but there is also internal conversation in the chat. So I just want to make sure that we are keeping up to date with everything that is saying. If there is any other questions, I think that it's
there's one question there from Ferry that I'll answer briefly.
Please.
It says, how do you create a popping focal point? You can do that by several ways. Leading lines to a subject. So maybe if you have like a photo of somebody standing like in like a hallway or like a railing by some stairs, and all the leading lines of that photo point to that person. You could also do it by adding maybe like a vignette or something like that. So in this case, let me just delete this Instagram one just so it's not confusing. You can create a focal point just by adding more contrast to a photo, to whatever your main subject is. In other words, by darkening everything else. So if I bring this down like so, go into luminosity, I can paint with black on this layer mask on whatever the focal point is. So maybe her face, like so. Obviously this is very crude, but I think you get the idea. You know, you're bringing all the attention there. You could also do it by having more saturation in an area. So you could also go into like hue and saturation, bring the saturation down of everything, but then the main focal point could have more saturation, like so, something like that. So there's a lot of ways of doing it. Another way, in this case, that actually works pretty well. I was gonna say using complementary colors. In this case, the background is blue, so maybe we can make it even a darker blue. So hue, saturation, and go into my blues, and then making the blue maybe darker, like so, something like that. I don't know. And then she can be more saturated by increasing the yellows and reds or something like that. And obviously this was really quickly, but the point is that you can use those, the leading lines in your photos, go into your subject, or the graphical elements that you create on screen, like text. Also adding a vignette, or making everything dark but your main subject brighter, or using complementary colors so that the main subject stands out. Use the cooler ones in the background and the warmer ones in the foreground so that the subject pops, or a combination of the three.
Super cool, Jesús. Thank you so much. That was pretty awesome. And I think it's time to pass by on a little bit of Illustrator. And Michelle. Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you. Michelle Ferner also joined and was saying thank you.
Actually, let me answer one more
question. Okay. It's a Photoshop takeover. That's totally fine.
Ferry just made a very good point that Jesús sacrifices work to show us some warning. Well, see, that's the thing, Ferry. Earlier, I said that I save all my files on Dropbox. So, well, first of all, I took this file out of Dropbox. So, you know, there's still another... point is that it's still safe in Dropbox. But the point is that if I had overwritten the file inside of Dropbox, Dropbox has version histories. So then I would just revert back to the history from, you know, earlier this morning, as opposed to the one that I edited. So thank you for your concern. But I also wanted to add to that by saying that's why I keep my stuff on Dropbox, where I have version histories.
And I have a little question, Jesús, as well. Do you use a Document Cloud? Have you been using it much yet with Photoshop?
Yeah, so with Photoshop, if you click on the home button, you have the Cloud Documents, Photoshop Cloud Documents, and you can see here some of the ones that I made. Most of these are documents that have been worked on the iPad for the most part, but yeah, I use them some, not too much. I mainly use them if there's something related to the iPad that I'm working on.
Fantastic. Right, and for some reason that was some of my work. I've seen a very old DCC on your... That's weird. That's fun. Right, fantastic. So it's time to jump into our my screen in order to get to Illustrator. I would just take in one more second. So since we're going to be in your screen, if you want to show everybody how to submit their work, because I'm going and pick the Behance page of the artist that I'm going to be featuring. So if you can, in the meantime, please.
So if you want to have your work featured, make sure that you go into iamkladi.com/reworkit. Check out Kladi's branding bundle. And what you can do is click on submit your design. This will bring up this window. You can enter your email, add your files, your name, your Behance profile. Very important. So we want to feature your Behance profiles. And I know that I think last week or maybe the week before, the artist also didn't have a Behance profile. So just make a Behance profile. If you don't have one, just make one right now. Like, I mean, I'm sure you have an account if you're commenting, but if you don't have anything in there, add some work. If you don't have any work to add, then check out the daily creative challenges, either in Photoshop, Illustrator, XD. And, you know, after a week or two, you'll have several pieces that you can upload to your Behance profile. So make sure that you upload work to your Behance profile. Even if it's one thing, we would like to feature you. So if you're submitting work, maybe also include that same piece in your Behance profile. And after we rework it, you can go back and see the tips and tricks that we provided, and then you can add your own and then get an improved version on there. So you'll have two pieces. So make sure that you upload at least one piece to your Behance profile. If you don't have anything, make one now. I know you might be watching from YouTube. So if you're watching from YouTube, behance.net/live, and then create your Behance profile.
Fantastic.
Data consent.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No,
yeah,
please go
I was
ahead.
just saying data consent, that you have to agree that we can use the images on the stream, and what apps you use in your project. It could be one, more, or, you know, a combination of these, and what specific questions you have, and the issues that you would like to discuss. In this case, it was how to make the YouTube thumbnail stand out a little more.
Fantastic. So I'm going to jump into my screen. I also want to reply to Viola that mentioned that she cannot find all episodes. Viola, is long overdue for me to put all the episodes on the page. So hopefully I'll find some time this week. Let's see if I can do it for today. I'm going to put myself this task for today, for tomorrow's stream, because we're going to be here as well tomorrow, same time. I'm going to try to put all the episodes that we've done under the Rework It page. So you can have a look at the fantastic artists that we have featured. And I'm going to try to collate all the Behance's pages as well. So in the same page that Tim has just shared, you can actually click on the link in there. I'm going to try to collate all the episodes, Viola. So hopefully tomorrow you'll be able to access the past episodes before. Because if I remember well, you were featured with an InDesign file. I don't remember, but send more. We're seeking InDesign files. But today, right now, after this wonderful time with Jesús, thank you for your brilliant tips in Photoshop. As I always said, you are my encyclopedia reference. all things Photoshop. It's time to jump into Adobe Illustrator. And I'm here on the page of Nick Boone, the graphic artist from Philippines, who created these lovely, gorgeous little illustrations here that we can see on his page, and many more graphic. So the graphic that we're going to be talking about is this pumpkin spice. And as you can see, he's created more work, but this how can I say it? Jesus, can you please say it for me?
Wait, what word?
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin?
Pumpkin. So pumpkin latte. I don't know if you can see my screen, Jesus, at all, but if not, I'm gonna share his profile with you. He is absolutely talented. He literally messaged me, and I'm gonna trust you and gonna trust your words, of course, but it's just blowing my mind that this is the second time that he's been creating an illustration in Adobe Illustrator. The illustration is gorgeous. Even if probably you haven't used that Illustrator that much, you definitely are a very talented illustrator. You can have a look at the shadow that is there, at the highlights. You know, fantastic artists, fantastic line work, very, very gorgeous work. So Absolutely. Let's go back and open the file into Illustrator. This is the exact file that we'll be playing with, but you can see plenty of more artwork from Nick Boone. And I had, I sent an email with a congratulation because it's going to be featured today as well to Nico. Nico, I don't know, I'm going to show your page anyway today. I don't know if we're going to have time to jump into your wine and berry logo, but don't worry, we're going to be here tomorrow. So perhaps tomorrow we're just going to start with you. But in the meantime, go and have a look at Nicosor Duman, or as he said, you can call me Nico, and his logo. He created many different logos. You can see here in the pages, it's just built a collection of the different logos that he created. And maybe later on, I don't know if we're gonna have time, but maybe today or tomorrow we can have a look at Nico's work. Fantastic. So let's start with Nick and his super cute look at this little octopus. Jesus, did you manage to, I don't know if you can see the screen because we are not in the same location, but I'll share with you later. This little heptus, I don't know if it's a creative version of an octopus, but it's just super, super cute. Wonderful use of color. And again, as I say here, we're here to rework your file, but also I'm super happy to shout out and to promote your talent. And Nick, you're definitely talented with your illustration. They're beautiful. But let's jump into Illustrator. This is a Nico work, which hopefully we're going to be seeing today or tomorrow, is a wine logo, but that's the illustration provided by Nick. And we have Nick and Nico today, so just to make it easier for me. And we can see that Nico was saying, hi, can you improve my pumpkin spice latte I ordered earlier? I think there's missing an ingredient. Note, you can smell the sweet aroma in this picture. I think it's super, super cute. I'm just a beginner using Adobe Illustrator, which again, Nick, mind-blowing because you're talented. That's amazing. Give me tips in live. Thank you so much. Fantastic. So I'm going to delete the comment and just focus on the work right now. So first thing that I can say is that brilliant work. And usually the first thing that I do is to jump into layers to see how the work is structured. So here we have gorgeous use of layers. I'm going to zoom in so we can admire Nick layers. We have not only the elements are grouped depending on what they are. So all the vector that build the pumpkin on either layer, and I'm gonna toggle the visibility so you can actually see that in action. So everything's that to do with the pumpkin, including the little pumpkin drips, go away once we click on the layer. Same for the cup. And then we have the smoke. Then we have, I believe, the cinnamon stick. Then we have the moon behind, and then the background. So fantastic job. And not only everything is grouped accordingly, but are also named. So incredibly well done. And let's move on and actually see how to improve the work, because so far I've just been showering you with compliments, but they are absolutely deserved. So a little things that I can see right away is that the illustrations seem to have a lot of rounded corners. As you can see here on the caps, all these lines, even at the stick, everything seems to be rounded. And my eye really got there in terms of details. So what I will do if that was my artwork is to make sure that every other line that is inside the artwork also has rounded ends. And by doing so, all you have to do is simply to go to your properties panel and select your stroke and click on the word stroke under appearance, and you can change the cap into a round cap. So as you can see, Nico has selected the first one, and I'm going to select a round cap. And look at this detail. There's just a very tiny detail, but it gives an overall sense of refinement to the details of the image. So I don't want it to be picky, because as I say again, like the image is absolutely fantastic, but when you're doing good work, there is always parts that you can improve. So to give it to be more consistent with your cartoony sort of look and feel, and because you already picked to have very rounded edges, I would say stick to that sort of style throughout. Make sure to have your image consistent. And also there is something that I can see here that really catches my eye, those little inconsistencies with the lines. So it looks like there are maybe some extra point or the vector. See, if we move from the normal preview to the outline by using the shortcut Command Y on your keyboard, or you can also go under View and change it into outline. Here it is. Sorry, it's the very first one under view. So we go into from the preview mode to the outline mode. You can see that there is this little corner here, which is actually what creates the stroke to have the little point at the end. So don't worry about it. All you have to do is to click on the stroke, and then nested under the sharper tool, just below the pencil tool, you'll find the smooth tool. And the smooth tool, make sure to, of course, select your stroke first. And I'm going to go back into outline mode to make sure that I select the right stroke. And we're having a little issues here to see the bounding box because it's yellow. So don't worry, we can also fix that real quick so we can actually see what we're doing. Let's jump back into our layers and double click on the layer in order to change the color of the layer. And I'm just going to choose a darker color, maybe this brown. It doesn't really matter. It's just so we have a better visibility of the actual bounding box. Here it is. The line suddenly pop up, and also the anchor points is the same color of your layer. So if you ever have difficulty seeing your layer, that's the best way in which you can find something that is contrast, so you can actually not only use the color of your layer in for organizing purpose. Excuse, my English is gone out the window today. I've been speaking too much Italian. But you can also use it for a more efficiency in order to build contrast. So once we have done that, and we make sure that we got our path selected, so we're going to go back to our smooth tool, and then simply click and drag onto your path. And as you can see, the corner transform into a rounder corners, just like so. And there are quite a lot of anchor points that have been created now that you can see here into your path. So at this point, what I will do, I'll press Control or right click onto your path and then select Simplify. And by doing so, you see that there is this little A, which is the automatic auto simplify already selected. The line will be automatically simplified. So all these anchor points are gone. That means that your file is much lighter as well. And also if you ever have to change the direction of the stroke, you just have to deal with one anchor point, which make it so much easier. And we press Command W to go back into our lovely preview mode. You can see that that spiky corner is gone, and you can do the same here very simply. Again, I'm just using the smooth tool, and if by any chance you cannot see the smooth tool into your toolbar, is because probably you have your toolbar selected to basic. In this occasion, all you have to do is to click on these three dots to edit the toolbar, and then go on the top flyout menu and select advanced, and that will be exactly and your toolbar will look exactly like my toolbar looks like right now, so you can then access the smooth tool. And you need to be mindful, because look at this little thing that happened. We made the curve smoother, we see that there is a little gap. So that's something that I always advise to do. Make sure that you really zoom in into your file to make sure everything is okay. But don't worry, press A to select the direct selection tool. Then again, press Control and then right click to simplify the path. As you can see, now we are dealing just with one single anchor point. And now we simply click and drag it with the direct selection tool. The direct selection tool, which is the white arrow, allows us to select just one anchor point at the time, rather than with the black arrow, which is our main selection tool, which selects the entire object. So look what happens. If I do the same with the black arrow, I will move the entire graphic element. Fantastic. So that was something that I will do here perhaps as well. Make sure that everything is rounded, as you've been keeping consistency with the rounded corners. And again, here in this case, we are not only selecting a rounder cap, but when you see these corners sort of breaking, especially if you have text that can look quite weird because corner gets really pointy, make sure that under stroke you select the rounded join. And here it is in just one click, and I'm going to press Command Z to undo. As you can see, go from this kind of chopped corners into this beautiful rounded corner that definitely marry much better with the entire design. So there were a few things that I wanted to do, but I think we're almost running out of time.
Yeah, you have about maybe 3 minutes.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to do this. So one thing that I wanted to do is to also show you a couple things. So in reality, what I wanted to do is to transform this into a sticker, because I think this is sticker material. It's got absolutely all the perfect sort of description elements to be a sticker. So let's see if I can do that. But before doing that, I think it's important to create a copy of the design. So I'm just gonna go ahead to my layers and make sure that all layers are unlocked. And as you can see, there was this little lock, which means that the background is locked. So I'm gonna click on the lock in order to deactivate and make sure that I can access all the graphics that are in our artboard. Then I'm gonna click and drag to select all the elements, and then press Option and drag to create a copy, just like so. And then once we have a copy here, maybe we can delete the background just for these purposes here. And I'm going to press Command S to save, just to make sure that we are not losing the file in the process. And now I'm going to go ahead and create a new copy of this file. So I'm going to press Command G to group it, and everything is going to be moved into a new file. And I want to do that so I just don't compromise the copy that Nick is created. So that was the original. So I'm going to go ahead and lock all the other layers. So now I can just simply work with the new copy. I'm going to click and drag to select it all. And then I wanted to show you here all the graphics that he made are live outlines. That means that they can give you issues when you scale it, or again, you need to worry about your stroke. So first of all, I will suggest, I haven't done in the details to finalize all the strokes, but I will definitely make sure that I go ahead and transform all the strokes into round caps and round corners, just again to keep consistency with the design. But then something else that I will do after that is to click and drag to select the entire artwork, head under the object menu and under path, make sure that you select outline stroke. By selecting outline stroke, we're going to transform all our strokes into shapes. So that will make it so much easier to work, especially because the next step in order to create a sticker will be to merge those shapes. But I think it's unfortunately time to say goodbye. We're gonna catch up, I think, tomorrow with a learning on how to create a sticker. So we're gonna recap directly from here. We're gonna start in Illustrator and then do more Photoshop with Jesús. I think we got like 40 seconds to say goodbye.
Yeah, less than a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, show people how to submit.
Yes, of course. And I was just reading the chat. Tim says, I get the feeling that Kladi likes rounded corners. I absolutely do, Tim. But also, I think it's always a matter of what fits better the design. And I think that the design is so rounded, and the cartoon style is usually very rounded, and that those sort of sharp edges weren't really matching the design. So in this case, absolutely go round corner, Nick. Fantastic. So I'm just going to show you real quick. Again, the link is iamkladi.com/reworkit. And I probably need to access it myself here. In order to submit, click on the submit your work button, which you can find at the very top of the page, in order to submit your design. Submit. We're going to be here tomorrow and then again in 2 weeks. So we have plenty of time to showcase your work. We're always super curious. And again, don't be shy. This is a safe space to learn and grow together. And as usual, it's an absolute pleasure to hang out with you. Absolutely honored as well to always be here on Adobe Live. Jesús, thank you so much for spending this time together.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Make sure that you stick around for Voodoo Val. She's coming up next with a Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge, creating a style guide.
Yes, and if you scroll just down below this video on behance.net/live, you'll be able to see the entire plan for the day, because it's a busy schedule here at Adobe Live with so many fantastic streamers. Submit your work. Don't forget to submit your work, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.